Hey, what's up guys, Benny here and welcome to another Apex Legends video. Now, I am sure everyone can agree that the worst part of Apex Legends is when you get killed, whether that's right at the start of the game or in those tense final moments at the end of a match, when your hands start to get a little bit sweaty and your heart starts to beat a little faster. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to stop that from happening anymore. I'm going to teach you all the reasons you might be getting killed in a game of Apex Legends and give you some tips and tricks on how to stop it from happening in the future. So, the first reason you might find yourself getting killed a lot more than you should in Apex Legends is that you might be attempting to go solo far more than you really should. Like, don't get me wrong, it can be frustrating at times if you're going into a match solo and your teammates aren't coming with you, even if you're pinging where you think the team should go, or when you're the jump master and your teammates just decide to go off and land by themselves on the complete opposite side of the map. You'll also find that players that do this normally 9 times out of 10 get killed pretty quickly and have left the lobby before you even have a chance to go and pick up their tag. But I cannot stress enough, if you want to die less often in Apex Legends, you want to try and stick with your team as much as you possibly can, because in a firefight, if an opponent has 3 people to shoot at, rather than just you, you have a way better chance of surviving. Also, it sounds pretty bad, but when you don't necessarily know the skill level of your teammates, it's sometimes just best to use them as human shields and cannon fodder, and then you can just focus on dealing as much damage and getting as many kills as you can whilst they're getting shot. And then you do also sometimes get the pleasant surprise when one of them turns out to be a complete pro and ends up helping you win the match. Though, in my experience, this is pretty rare, but hopefully this video will help change that in the future. So even if your teammates aren't playing at the same pace that you like to play at, stick with them. If they're ignoring your pings and just going off in their own direction, follow them. You're going to have a far better chance of success with your teammates around than without them. Like, don't get me wrong, it's sometimes fun to try and take on an entire team single-handedly and having that epic feeling of being a one-man army, but if you're doing this at every opportunity and not thinking about where your team are, that's going to be one of the main reasons you're dying a lot in Apex Legends. This next reason a lot of people die a lot in Apex Legends is a real pet hate of mine, because it is so simple to avoid, and you'll notice yourself picking up kills on other people for doing the exact same thing, and that's being a loot goblin. So many players' sole focus in Apex Legends is to hoard as much loot as they possibly can. Even if they don't need the loot, they'll pick up a kill and suddenly become Usain Bolt in their rush to get to the death box to make sure that they get all the best bits before the rest of their teammates. Your teammates may not even have any ammo left, but some players will make sure they've got 500 rounds just in case they need them before making sure that the rest of the team are okay. But if you want to make sure you're not getting killed as often, take your time when it comes to loot. Take turns with your teammates so you don't all get caught looting one body and taken out before you even have time to react by another team. Also, make sure that the coast is clear and another team isn't waiting to third party you, because that's something that I do a lot, is wait for a fight to finish and then rush in when I know they'll be looting. It'll mean that I get the first shot in and can normally take down at least one opponent before they even know where the gunfire is coming from. But sometimes looting, even mid-gunfight, can give you an upper hand if you know what you're doing. Sometimes I'll pay attention to where body armor is nearby, so if I get hit, I can pick it up and get some instant health back without having to use any healing items. And it's also quicker than using any healing item in the game, which is a big bonus. The same can be said for death boxes. When you pick armor off a dead body, it'll have all its health back, even if you pick it up mid-gunfight. So if you've taken some damage and are quick enough, you can pick some armor up off the ground and get straight back into the fight with your armor's health at full and not have to use any of your healing items in the process. Also, enemies never expect it because they'll know they'll either have broken or damaged your armor, so may decide to rush you and not expect you to have full health again. And that's another thing. To avoid yourself being killed, don't always chase after kills. Only do it if you're 99.9% certain that you can get the kill without being taken down yourself, as otherwise you'll lose the advantage that you may have gained for your team. The next reason you might find yourself dying a lot in Apex is that you might just not be winning your gunfights. You may just find yourself just consistently being outplayed by your opponents as they have better gun skill. Now, if this is the case, there's a few things that you can do to stop losing as many gunfights. Firstly, you can work on improving your own personal gun skill by improving your aim. Now, I did a video going more in depth on this, but doing things like playing on a lower sensitivity, spending some time in a training area to get used to all the different weapons that you can find in Apex Legends is going to be a good start. Another thing to be thinking about is why you're losing so many gunfights. Are you missing your shots? If so, work on your aim. Are you constantly being outnumbered in gunfights? Make sure you try and stick with your team more. Are you constantly being shot in the back? Maybe think about sticking to the edge of the circle or using a headset so you can hear them coming to make sure you get that first shot in. That's also another important thing to win more gunfights. You want to be the player that shoots first. You're instantly at a huge advantage if you're the one to open fire, so try to do that as much as possible with your entire team. There is always something you can be doing to stop yourself being killed in any battle royale, not just Apex Legends, and making sure you win your gunfights by improving your gun skill and awareness is one of those things. But sometimes it just doesn't matter. You might have some of the best gun skill in the world, you might be backed up by all of your teammates, but one of the most important things to be aware of and to do in Apex Legends to stop yourself being killed is to know when to run away. A lot of players think that if you don't challenge every gunfight you see, you must not be a good player. That, however, is just not the case. Some of the best players in the world are so good because they know when they don't have the upper hand in a fight. If you don't have the upper hand, whether you're outnumbered or the enemy have the better map position, one of the best things you can do to avoid being killed is to run and reposition to give yourself a better chance of winning. This might be before an engagement begins or even mid-battle, just if it looks like you might lose and get killed, run. There are also a few benefits to running away in a fight. A lot of players will then end up chasing you, forgetting all about the cover or the advantage that they may have had. The amount of times I've run from a fight, been chased, found a good bit of cover, and gunned an entire team down in the open will surprise you, but learn to do this and you'll find yourself dying a lot less. So if you're low on health, low on ammo, outnumbered, or just in a bad map position, run, reposition, then re-engage when you have the upper hand. Something that makes a player good is making enemies look bad by always making sure you've got the upper hand, so do that as much as you can. Another reason players will find themselves being killed a lot in Apex Legends is because they're not taking full advantage of their Legends abilities. A lot of Legends have some sort of ability that they can use to help them survive bad situations. Like Wraith, for example, has Into the Void, which makes her completely immune to taking damage. During this time, you can move yourself behind some cover or back towards the rest of your team to help you survive. Bangalore can use her smoke grenades to help her get away. Gibraltar can throw down a shield to completely block incoming damage for 15 seconds. Caustic can use gas traps to block pathways and doors to discourage enemies from chasing you. But the point is, you've got abilities. Use them. I see so many players just not using their abilities or just wasting them when it won't help them survive or gain an upper hand in a gunfight. So if you want to die less in Apex Legends, make sure you're using your abilities or choosing legends like Wraith to help make you survive more. And that's another thing to be aware of, and one of the reasons you'll find yourself dying a lot is if you're not playing to the legend you've chosen, strengths and hitbox. If you're playing as one of the larger legends like Gibraltar or Caustic, you don't want to be constantly running out in the open as you've got a large hitbox. You're just easier to hit compared to some of the smaller legends in the game like Lifeline or Wraith. By all means, if you play as Wraith or Lifeline, rush enemies, move quickly between cover, use abilities like Wraiths into the Void or Bangalore's Double Time to give yourself that extra level of survivability. But if you get caught in the open as Caustic, there's absolutely nothing you can do to get yourself out of trouble other than hopefully win a gunfight that is heavily weighed against you. So, if you want to survive, constantly think about the legend you're playing as. Gibraltar is going to have far more success holding down a position behind cover than rushing straight at an enemy. But there we have it, 7 things that you can do to stop dying as much in Apex Legends. If you've got any other tips to survive in Apex, make sure to share them down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and smash that like button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!